What's going on everyone, June with the Sushi Man, and today I'll be teaching you how to make the very famous California roll. Now the actual rolling part will be pretty much identical to the inside out roll section in my how to roll sushi video, but I thought it would be good to make a shorter video specifically for the California roll because of how popular it is. And if you enjoy videos like this and want to learn more about sushi, be sure to check out my book, How to Make Sushi at Home, a fundamental guide for beginners and beyond. There's a ton of step-by-step tutorials for recipes like this one and much more. So if you've been wanting to learn how to make sushi at home or training to become a professional sushi chef, this book will definitely help you. I'll leave links in the description below for those that are interested. And I also want to give a quick thanks to all of you. Whether you've subscribed, following, liked, or just watching my videos, I really appreciate the support on this channel. Hitting that like and subscribe button does really help, so again, thank you all. Alright, now let's get right into it. So before we start, I'm going to go over a little history of the California roll. But if you're the type that likes to go straight into the action steps or just don't really care about the history part of it, fast forward to the next chapter of this video. Now if you like sushi, which I'm pretty sure you do if you're watching this, you've probably heard of the California roll. It's the most popular and widely known sushi roll, at least here in the States. I mean, the name kind of explains it, but the roll originated in California back in the late 1960s to early 70s. There are many different variations, but typically it has crab or imitation crab, cucumber, and avocado. And the avocado is the key ingredient here. Reason why is because back in the day, when sushi wasn't quite popular yet in the US, sushi chefs had a hard time sourcing fish like they could in Japan. So they had to get creative and start using other non-traditional ingredients. That's when avocado started to be used, because the richness and smooth, buttery texture was similar to that of toro, or fatty tuna. And with the abundance of avocados in California, it just made sense. But the innovation didn't just stop there. The California roll is also one of the first rolls to be rolled in an uramaki style, which means inside-out roll. See, American customers back then weren't really fond of the nori or seaweed, primarily due to the texture. So to mask that, the roll was inverted, making the rice on the outside and seaweed now on the inside. This became an absolute hit, and you know how it goes from there. Now, who was the original founder of the California roll is still a debatable topic, but regardless, it's become one of the most popular and well-known sushi rolls across the globe. Anyways, that's a little history of the California roll. Alright, on to the tools and supplies now. The first thing we're going to need is our cutting board. Next, we have our makisu, or bamboo rolling mat. And this one is wrapped in plastic already. If you don't know how to do this, check out the inside out roll part of my how to roll sushi video. I'll have a link down below and in this corner over here. We're also going to need a bowl of cold water or tezu. A sharp knife. I'm going to be using my Sujihiki here. And this is a Masamoto VG series, which I highly recommend. It's my go-to all-around sushi knife that stays sharp, easy to use and maintain, and really well balanced. Masamoto is one of my favorite Japanese knife brands that's been in the business for over a century. I'll leave a link in the description if anyone's interested. Next, we have a clean, damp kitchen towel. And lastly, a plate that we'll serve it on. Unless you're eating it straight off the board. Hey, no judgment here. Okay, now let's get into the ingredients. The first and most obvious ingredient is the sushi rice. Now, if you haven't made this yet, be sure to check out my video on how to make the perfect sushi rice. Next, we have some nori, which is dried seaweed, and these are half sheets. Now for the ingredients that go inside the roll. First, we have kanikama, or imitation crab. And you can use real crab, of course, snow crab, king crab, whatever you like. Just try to use the leg meat and make sure it's not too big where it won't fit inside the roll. You can also use shredded crab meat if you like. A lot of restaurants will mix it with Japanese mayo to get that creamy texture. For me personally, I prefer using the actual crab meat, whether real or imitation, and not the shredded one. And then drizzling some spicy mayo on top, but of course it's totally up to preference. Okay, next we have cucumber. This is English cucumber that I've already cut into strands like this. You can see how am I cutting cucumbers for sushi video. And then we have avocado, which has also been sliced. And yes, I have a video on that as well, which you can check out with that link in the corner. Now for some optional ingredients. This is toasted sesame seeds, which we can put around the roll or sprinkle it on top. And I like to actually grind the sesame seeds. This thing is pretty cool and is made to do just that with the touch of a button. But you can find simpler ones online that do the same thing. And the reason why I like to grind the sesame seeds is one, because it has a better texture. I mean, if you've ever had a seed stuck between your teeth, you probably know, but it can be really annoying. But second, it also gives off more of that toasted aroma and you can actually taste more of that sesame flavor. Of course, totally optional, but if you like to use sesame seeds for a lot of cooking, then this thing is something to consider. I'll have a link in the description below as well. You can also use masago or tobiko to put around the roll. It definitely adds some more flavor and texture, and the pop of color looks nice. But I'll just use sesame seeds for this one since I want this video to be beginner friendly as possible. And lastly, a side of wasabi, ginger, and soy sauce. Alright, now let's get rolling. Yes, pun intended. First step, place the makisu onto our cutting board so that the lines are running horizontally. And I explained this on my how to roll sushi video, but if you have a makisu that's green on one side and tan on the other, use the green side, meaning that should be facing up. The bamboo sticks are flat on that side, which makes for a cleaner finish. Not a big deal, but something to get used to. Next, place a shira nori onto the makisu with the rough side facing up. If you look at both sides, you'll notice one side is usually rougher than the other. This becomes more important when making rolls that have the seaweed on the outside. Not so much here, but again, something good to get used to. Alright, now we lightly dampen our hands using a bowl of water. Not so much where there's water dripping off though, just enough where your palms are shiny like this. And then grab a ball of sushi rice, about the size of an apple. Then we lay this onto the nori and spread it evenly across all the way to the edges and corners. Try not to push or smash the rice, you want it to be fluffy as possible and evenly distributed. Okay, next we sprinkle some toasted sesame seeds on top, if you're using them. I just push this button on this little guy and let it do its thing. Pretty cool, right? And if you're using masago or tobiko, you can use a spoon to spread it around the rice here, instead of the sesame seeds. Alright, now we flip this over so that the seaweed side is on the top. And when you do this, try to leave about an inch from the bottom of the makisu to the bottom of the seaweed. This will make it easier to roll. So from here, we lay down the ingredients. I like to start with the avocado. And make sure to lay them evenly across the middle from one end to the other. Next comes the cucumber. And then the kanikama. And depending on the size of the crab sticks or crab legs you're using, you can split it into two like I'm doing it here, or put one on each side. Totally up to you. Alright, now we start rolling. First, put both thumbs under the makisu while the forefingers hold the ingredients in place. The point here is to bring the bottom of the nori to the top of the ingredients. So while you gently tuck in the ingredients, use your thumbs to roll the nori up. All the ingredients should be covered up, but the top part of the nori is still visible like this. Now tighten the roll by applying gentle pressure, and don't get all beast mode here. And also pull this top end of the makisu with one hand while holding the roll with the other. This helps tighten the roll as well. Next, continue rolling by pulling the bottom end of the makisu away from you. It should just kind of naturally roll itself, but be careful not to go too far. And then apply gentle and even pressure again here to shape the roll. Now take the makisu off, and from here I like to clean the edges a bit by aligning the edge of the makisu to the end of the roll, and then pushing in on the rice. Do this for both ends and then put the makisu aside. Alright, from here it's just cutting and plating. Typically, uramaki style rolls are cut into 8 pieces, and I find the easiest way to do this is to start right in the middle, and then cut it in half again, and then half again. But before we do that, we want to make sure our knife is wet. This will help the rice from not sticking to the knife. So I like to dip it in the bowl of water and then let it slide down the blade. Or you can use a damp towel, whichever one works better for you. Alright, so find the center and cut it perpendicular as possible. If you need, clean or wet the knife again and then cut each side into halves again. Now same thing, take each quarter and cut it right in half. Now if another cutting method is easier, by all means do what's most comfortable for you. But I find this way to be the easiest way to keep all the pieces the same size, which will make the roll look a lot more professional. Alright, now that we've cut, it's time to plate. This part you can really get creative with. You can place it all nice and symmetrical, lay it down, stagger it, however you like. A lot of it will depend on the type of plate you're using and how much sushi you're making. For this video I just have this one roll, so I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and lay it down evenly across this small plate. And a quick tip here, it helps to wet the plate a little bit right before you put the sushi on so that it won't stick. I just use a clean damp towel and wipe it a couple times. And don't forget to wet your fingers a bit too. Add some wasabi and ginger on the side and there you go. If you really want to work on your plating skills, go look at examples online or take pictures next time you're at a restaurant. And let me know as well if that's something you guys want to see in one of my future videos. Alright, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. ありがとうございます。